no one have this particular culture that I have. When the needle go in the back of your hand and you bleed while you're sewing, you take that blood and you put it on your thread and you make sure it's going, and you sew that blood into the suit.
Right into the suit.
You know, so that needle and thread is powerful. It's really powerful.
Hi, I'm Sally Young. Welcome to my podcast, Everything New Orleans. Growing up in New Orleans was like no other experience on the planet. I always knew that there was no other place like it. As a teenager, I started working with the music that was the soundtrack of my youth. Professor Longhair, Earl King, Al Carnival Tom Johnson. They became real people to me, not just voices I heard on the records. I worked with a lot of Mardi Gras Indians after seeing them on my way to my Nanan's apartment on the corner of St. Charles and Jackson on Mardi Gras Day. Then I got to ride in the Zulu parade a couple of times, passing that same corner where I stood on the neutral ground since I was a little kid every Mardi Gras morning. My life revolved around the music, the food, and community spirit of New Orleans. That became my service, and ultimately, my joy. That's My New Orleans. Everything New Orleans is a podcast developed to share my experience living, working, and being in New Orleans. Welcome to my podcast, Everything New Orleans. I'm your host, Sally Young. This is Treme Unmasked at Mardi Gras. This podcast is about real people in a real neighborhood in the area of town known as Treme. We all came here together. We all have different backgrounds, but everyone at the table today ended up working together over the years. You've all been collaborating together, supporting each other. So I want to introduce our guest today for this edition of Everything New Orleans. We've got Sylvester Francis here. He is the founder of the Backstreet Cultural Museum. Morning, Sylvester.
Good morning. How you doing?
His passion for collecting Mardi Gras Indian artifacts and Mardi Gras Indian suits, second line artifacts, all evolved into his museum. I've got Joan Rhodes. She's a third generation Rhodes family funeral home operator. With Rhodes Family Funeral Home and Enterprises.
We call it Rhodes Family of Businesses.
Of businesses. I like that.
Right. Funeral homes, insurance, and transportation.
Well, you've been a businesswoman all of your adult life. We want to talk to you about that, all the things that you've been involved in, because you've been a big influence on this community. You also had a hand in helping Backstreet get going. You also have Victor Harris at the table today. Victor is Big Chief of the Mandingo Warrior Spirit of Phi. I want to welcome you to the table this morning.
Thank you, Sally. Good morning, everyone.
I know you're busy this time of year.
Yes, I am.
Thank you for taking time out for this. This year, let me just throw in that you are celebrating 55 years.
55 years, that's right.
55
Correct.
years masking Indian.
Masking Mardi Gras Indians.
That's a lot of years,
yeah,
Victor.
55 consecutive years.
Consecutive years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Well, everybody here, welcome to Everything New Orleans.
Thank you, Sally.
Let's set the scene for today's conversation. It is Mardi Gras 2020. We're in Treme with three of the most influential people in the Treme neighborhood. I would venture to say most influential people in the city of New Orleans. Treme is one of the most noted areas of, say, African-American heritage in New Orleans. Let's talk about how it all came about. Okay, Sylvester, somebody told me that someone tried to sell you a picture of you when you were second lining?
I stopped parading around 7 to 8. So around 7 to 8 or 7 to 9, a photographer took my picture. Then the next day or the day after, he wanted to sell me the picture. I got mad. I got real mad. But I bought the picture.
You did?
And I said, I'm going to buy me a camera. So I bought me a camera. And one of my goals was, if I shoot somebody's picture, I will give them a copy.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I was so mad, I ain't never want to be called a photographer. I wanted to be known as a cameraman. So I shot pictures. Everybody started calling me cameraman. I started giving everybody pictures. So from 7 to 8 to 99, through them years, I've been to Jazz Fest, a couple other places, plenty more places, with my pictures and a couple of stuff I had in my backyard
Mm-hmm.
I was living on Frenchman, and I started a museum. A good friend of mine named Coach.
Yeah.
So we took this little garage and
So this is
made
Coach Collins Lewis.
College.
Mm-hmm.
God bless him.
Right.
He's here with us. He's here right now.
Yeah. So anyhow, with the pictures, I started getting this little museum together.
Mm-hmm. Now this is in your garage.
My garage.
At your house on Frenchman.
Right.
Okay.
Then I used to go by Vic. At this time, I was the only outsider was able to go by Vic
Mm-hmm.
who don't sue.
Mm-hmm.
And to the day, I still don't sue. But to the day, I still can go by Vic.
Mm-hmm. Now we're talking Big Chief, Victor Harris, sitting right
Victor
here at
Harris.
the table. He's smiling because he remembers. Yeah.
In 1984, Victor made this suit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first Payaya suit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's gorgeous. And I asked Payaya to give it to me to put in the museum.
Mm-hmm.
But at this time, they had thrown it away.
What?
They threw it away.
Chief.
Yeah. So they threw this away. But I wanted a patch.
Mm-hmm.
I never dreamed nobody or give nobody a whole suit. So I asked for a patch.
Mm-hmm.
But at this time, he said, we threw it away. And I said, what? Yeah, he said, I tell you what I do. You can have the next one. I said, okay. So we took this garage and we put pictures in on. And the first people I got to come was Rhodes Funeral Home.
So you're working for Rhodes Funeral Home?
Yes.
Okay.
So I got them to bring the people.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend named Coach, we said, what we going to name this place? And we said, I don't know what we going to name. I said, because we can't make no business out this place. I said, because it's on the back street. I said, ain't nobody going to come. I said, Rose can. John brought in people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was to a guy. I said, John was into it way before she knew she was into it. So this the hard part. See, you never know when you're into something till somebody else tell you you're into it.
Okay, so Joan, I want you to jump in right now. And what were you into?
Well, during that time, I think it was when we had airport transportation.
It was before that.
Oh, before that, we had the
Way
limousines.
before that.
So, okay, we had limousines, we had buses, and we'd bring our friends. You know, our friends come to town, they want to see the culture, the community.
I knew who I like to say.
Go ahead.
It was the people from Washington.
Oh, that was with the National Park Service.
That's the people you brought.
Okay, well, I was in the National Park Service's study
Mm-hmm.
for jazz, and they wanted to see some community stuff. That was one group I remember bringing over there. And that was before jazz was designated as a national treasure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother story in itself.
And you were on the Jazz Commission.
I was on the Jazz Commission.
Right.
Yeah. And we got that with the Secretary of Interior to name jazz as a national treasure. Right. But Sylvester's facility over there, I mean, we'd send people, guests in town, and, we knew people in the tour business. And
now, when you say facility, is this still in your garage?
In the garage.
Right.
Okay, you're still in the garage. Okay,
Right,
okay, on Frenchman Street.
1984 is when we bought Blandon Funeral Home, which is now the current home of Backstreet.
Now, when you say we,
My
Rhodes,
daddy.
Rhodes
Me
Funeral
and my
Home. Okay.
daddy. Well, the family, but
The
it was
family,
the Joan and Duplin Road, my daddy deal.
Okay.
That when opportunity came, the family was going out of the business. The Blandon family was going out of the business, and they offered it to us. And we bought their real estate and their company. And I managed that facility. In fact, my funeral director's license is still on the wall in Backstreet. But because of the close proximity to Claiborne Street, eventually we closed that location. And when we closed that location, Sylvester say, hey, why don't we put Backstreet over here? And I said, that's not a bad idea. And, we worked out some situations, and he's still there today.
After the neighborhood got through looking at it, we really didn't know what to name it. And between me and Coach, other people say Backstreet.
Mm-hmm.
And we named it Backstreet on the kind of everything we had. We figured it came off the back streets.
Exactly.
And if you look at Treme, most of the things in New Orleans is on the back street.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be a hell of a musician to go in the French Quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's done on the back street.
Well, there's a quote from Ellis Marsalis. He said, in most places, culture comes from high above. In New Orleans, it bubbles up from the streets.
Right.
So that's so true.
It's all the jazz films and parades and whatever you got, you can't do it on the main street. Most of the culture is on Backstreet.
That's right. And I want Victor to chime in about that because you know a lot about Backstreet celebrations and rituals, traditions. Big Chief.
Me and Mr. Sylvester have been knowing each other just about all our lives. Sister Rose, tell you the truth, I'm born in the Seven right there, Claiborne and Parker, just right down the street from the funeral home. Was that your first funeral home, Rose, on Claiborne?
Well, we really were uptown first.
Uptown?
Right, uptown first. And then 1942 is when my daddy bought that location. Okay. And I think the little house that is now our arrangement office, I think somebody in your family lived
I
in
lived
that.
there with my family. My mother, my whole family lived there. Yeah.
1728 North Claiborne.
Yeah, 1728 North Claiborne. Yeah. Yeah, so nevertheless, I'm born and raised right there in that neighborhood. And it's always been my home. And as far as the culture concerned, I'm born into that. It always have been there for me. And, well, you got to go back to Tootie, Montana, Big Chief Tootie. Allison, Montana. So
Yellow Pocahontas.
Yellow Pocahontas. That's my chief. And ever since I was a little kid, we used to follow the Yellow Pocahontas and run behind the tribe. And if they drop little feathers or bees on the ground, we would pick them up, man, and put them all on, our clothes and stuff like that. From 5, 6 years old, I'm talking about all my whole entire life following the Mardi Gras Indians. Mardi Gras Indians, that was the most spectacular thing you ever want to see. I love Mardi Gras more than I love any holiday in the world. I'm telling you, Christmas doesn't matter to me. Just when Muppet Carnival, oh man, that's the only thing that really brought the community together. Mm-hmm. As a whole, when Mardi Gras came that day, Carnival, everyone got together. It didn't matter who you were. You didn't speak to each other. You didn't like one another. Everybody became one because of the Yellow Pocahontas tribe. And at this particular time, the Yellow Pocahontas was only one tribe. Maybe today, from the Yellow Pocahontas tribe, you might have 9 different tribes now that come from the Yellow Pocahontas. Mm-hmm. Well, in 1984 is when I started my own tribe, the Spirit of Fire. And that's when the suit revolved. It changed.
Well, stylistically, it changed. And that's just on the surface of what changed.
Spiritually, it took on a change. Spiritually, most people don't understand the spirit of the culture, and you have to believe in something. And the spirit of the culture is something I believe that's in God. God gave me that. And also, he gave me the spirit of fire.
We've got, sitting at the table, one of your queens. You're an honorary queen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, tell us about that.
It was 2 years ago. I've been following, we talked about Backstreet and the fact that Backstreet was then housed at Blandon. And so certainly I had to develop a relationship with Chief and through
And how did that come about?
Just presence, just being there, appreciating the work and the commitment to the community. And he used to come out from over at Backstreet, and then Mardi Gras Day a couple of years ago, we've been kind of iffing at it. Well, I have a big garage full of stuff. He said, man, this would be a great place to come out.
We just said that Victor is coming out at your house. Would you explain what coming out is? Because there's people listening that have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, they sold for months months. I mean, the day after Mardi Gras, they envisioning next year. Well, it's a big thing for the family gathering. And several years, he said, I like that building over there. He said, could we come out over there? What it means is that he brings his tribe, he brings his family, he brings his friends. They do the last minute touch-ups, makeup. The ladies made me up so beautiful last year.
They did,
in terms of fixing my face and giving me some color, to be a part of the whole thing. And then the presentation. People are waiting
for that moment.
They're waiting to open the doors.
When you come
They're
out the
waiting
door.
to open the gate. We're waiting for the drummers to start for his presentation. So 2 years ago, we did 2 years. He brought his crew over and blessed me with his presence. And, the tribe came and did their little ceremony and came out of my space. So that was 1 year. And the next year, he sent me a little medallion or something. He says, okay, now here, you're my honorary queen. I went in the street with him and I wore the queen's hat for a while, and I had a wonderful time. So I became the honorary queen.
Stay tuned for more of Everything New Orleans, the podcast that features conversations about New Orleans with real New Orleanians. I want to ask, okay, you made your first suit in 1984. You didn't throw that one away, right?
Yes.
That was
you
the
did throw
first
that
one.
one away. Okay, well, where was the first one that went to Backstreet in its entirety?
It truly didn't get thrown away. We gave it back to the spirit since I was blessed with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, at one point, didn't you dismantle suits and reuse beads and?
Yeah. Earlier time, they would salvage the beads and the stones off the suits a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, even back then, you would still burn the remainder of it because you couldn't mess in that same suit twice. Mm-hmm. You'll be talked about bad. I mean,
so you burn the remains.
You burn the remains of the suit.
Is that a ritual?
Yeah, that was the ritual. But now everything becomes so elaborate and things like that, and so beautiful. And you just can't find the heart to do it anymore. And so
that's right.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to see any of those suits burned now.
Yeah, and so this is one of the reasons why year after year after year, I started letting Mrs. Sylvester Francis have the suits.
Okay, so from 1999, you're at Backstreet. So your first suit went to Backstreet at Blandon.
What's
right?
happened?
No, you're still in your garage.
What happened?
Okay.
I like to back up. In 84, when we start the fire, when Victor started fire, he got all the guys together to do the school program to give everything away. Mm-hmm. That's when we went to Rose and asked Rose to help us. Mm-hmm. And we saw it from around the corner by Rose. Rose got a band of music. Mm-hmm. See, all the music was on the back street. So Rose was on Claiborne, what we called the back street because it's a black neighborhood. I shot pictures. Mm-hmm. And I also shot pictures the first year Victor came out. That's how come we know how many people we had.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're saying pictures, but you were also doing video.
That's what I mean, video.
Yeah. With this, is this the Super 8 camera?
Yes.
You still had that, okay.
So that's when I asked for the suit. Mm-hmm. Suit was gone. The year after, a couple of suits went to Cabildo.
Okay.
Correct?
For an exhibit.
Then I go to 199. Mm-hmm. But when I go to 199, I'm still at the house. Mm-hmm. Then I moved. I asked John Brown for the building. But at that time, I only had 2 suits. Okay. 2 of Victor suits. Okay. And I had the 1990 and I had the 99.
How many do you have now?
Of Victor's? Mm-hmm. About 10.
About 10 suits
or
at
more.
Backstreet. Okay, so your suits started to change. 1984, you come out as Spirit of II. When did you start with the cowrie shells, and when did that evolution of suits start, and how did that come about?
You used to see them African people on the TVs with the cowrie shells all over their suit. I mean, not suit. I mean, their bodies and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And, I say, wow, that's pretty cool. I say, if I'm going to identify myself as a African American, and you notice the word African American. So that's one of the reasons why I started messing the way I do, because I wanted to be known as an African American, but an African or descendant, like in terms of my ancestors. So I want to recognize them and who I was in terms of not being called an Indian. I didn't want it to be mistaken for a Mardi Gras Indian or an Indian, native Indian of that nature. So this is why I changed. I want to be recognized as the African warrior.
The African warrior. And I think what's real important about his suit is the mask. His presence is an African mask. And I think that really distinguishes him.
Resonate the suit, the mask itself.
But I don't think anybody does a mask, an African presence in their whole presentation that takes you back.
Yeah. Well, we're getting to what you want to hear about the suit this year. You're talking about the presence of an African mask. Wow, this is kind of spooky looking, man. I mean, this is all curry shells. The shells are all just the suit is practically a shell suit. It's awesome. A lot of material that I usually use on all of my suits are not being used on this here suit. Only two things are being used, and that's the curry shells and beads, glass beads. That's all that's being used.
Okay, so no pearls, no rhinestones, things that we've got accustomed to seeing on Mardi Gras Indian suits.
Nothing, no gold, no silver is in it where, to make the suit shine like that. So I'm not even using gold or silver or anything.
You also don't use marabou, you use raffia, and,
I may have a little marabou on it, but
you might have a bit. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
A touch on it. Other than that, no, the raffia, I'm coming out with that. So I'm going to be full of that, man. It's going to be something so exciting. And I want the world to see this, man. I mean, you're talking about something spectacular. I mean, you want to see something that, while it's breathtaking, the most beautiful thing that you want to ever see that's handmade. And I believe that, and this is true what I'm telling you. I mean, hundreds to maybe a billion bees on the suit. Not a million, a billion. And I'm seriously telling you that.
Yeah, so
it's full of colors.
Yeah, it is something to see when you're coming out the door.
Yeah.
You and your tribe. Drummers, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
It is something to see.
Yeah,
55 years of masking.
Yeah, when we come out that door, that garage, I tell you, you could feel the ground shaking, man. I mean, we be rumbling, we be rolling.
One of the things that I love about New Orleans is the architecture. And in the community and in New Orleans, you can go down almost any big street in New Orleans. St. Charles Avenue, Claiborne, Napoleon, Rampart. You got the big houses on the front street. You got the little houses on the side street. Right. Now, if you go around the corner, you still have a smaller house. And that's why in New Orleans, we have white people living here. We have black people living here. We have socially economic differences on every block. You got rich people, you got middle-class people, you got poor people. But when you put them all together, they make up New Orleans. And how they designed this city, there's a back street on almost every street. So when he picked the name Backstreet, I just think it's very appropriate for the culture. Either if it's uptown, downtown, it's the New Orleans culture with the social aid and pleasure clubs, the Mardi Gras Indians, jazz funerals, we all connect.
Well, let's go back to the back street. I mean, what you said was true about the back street, how things got started. But, back street, it's always have been back street. Honestly, to segregation during the time, we wasn't allowed to go throughout the city. So we stood within our own community. And it was a whole different carnival for us from anywhere else. I mean, because we had our own carnival within the Mardi Gras Indians, the Baby Dogs, all kind of groups, ethnic groups, all kind of people. Skeleton Men. And it all was from the back street, from the inner part of the city. We wasn't allowed to go abroad like talking about it at times. And everything was in the neighborhood. I mean, the time, everything was so beautiful. Everyone would have something in front of their door. Everybody would put tables out, food out. Man, it was the most beautifulest time during the time. That's when it was called the Backstreet. People would dress up crazy like women or they had this group that was coming around with that old truck, the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, the men
dressed like women.
Men dressed like women, policemen, but the Backstreet where everything really started in our community. So it's appropriate for him to have that museum named the Backstreet Cultural Museum.
On Mardi Gras Day, what would we expect to see at Backstreet Cultural Museum, Sylvester?
I don't know.
You don't know.
That's what makes it
everything.
good. Everything.
I'll tell you everything.
Well, I do know the skeleton, the Indian, the baby
That's
dolls.
early in the morning. The skeletons come at 5:30 in the morning?
About 5:30, 6 o'clock.
They come with the
leave
sun
from there.
before sunrise.
They leave from the back street. The baby dolls will come. Okay, around 9, 10 o'clock. Then the Indians will come about 11. So really, all day, someone will come.
I want to ask you, what is your relationship to these people, Sylvester Francis, Big Chief Victor Harris, and how does that relate to making Treme what it is today?
I think as Victor and Sylvester said, we have a long-term relationship through the community for years. And I'm the honorary queen of Phi Ya, which is a blessing. And I appreciate that. And for Sylvester, he's been my friend. I'm a supporter.
And my landlord.
And I'm his landlord. My family owns the building, and initially we gave him the building. Then he started paying a little rent. Now he pays a little more rent. We have a lot of things that need to be done over there, but I guess I'm the landlord and the supporter of the culture. And Sylvester, you said he was the founder, but it's important to say he's the curator. He's the curator and the founder of Backstreet. He brought the culture and maintained it in a place where it's open for the public to see and to maintain the presence. And I appreciate him for that.
They always worked for me. And from John Brown living there and having a building and giving me the building, I took a piece of the culture and brought to Treme.
Victor.
We are special people. Honestly, we are very special people. The generosity that they have with them, I mean, that goes so far. I mean, because they are some generous people. I mean, people don't realize what all they have contributed to the community. And that's my love for them, knowing who they are, being so generous and things like that. Like I said, they are very special people. And it takes special people like special people are sitting here talking right now. So, yeah, that's my honorary queen. And this Mr. Sylvester Francis, see, the Backstreet Cultural Museum is renowned. I mean, around the world. People don't understand we're talking. There's people coming from around the world to come to see the Backstreet Cultural Museum. And on Mardi Gras Day, people coming from around the world in the Treme area because of the fact that Sister John and Mr. Sylvester Francis have developed this community. And they made it strong and vibrant.
Well, again, thank you all for sparing your time, for coming and joining in together. I mean, this has been a great conversation. I'm so glad y'all all made it here. I know everybody's busy, so I'm going to see
Sally.
You at the cafe.
Yeah.
Sally, thank you for doing this. This is such an important part of life's experiences to be able to document this. So you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Joan.
I'm the spirit of fire. Yeah, I want to thank you, too, for being such a great host and a friend.
Thank you.
Sal.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Sylvester. Thank you, Joan Rhodes. Thanks for listening to Everything New Orleans. I'm Sally Young, and this podcast was created to share the stories that originate from my experience working as a media professional in radio and conducting interviews at music festivals and events locally and around the world. Everything New Orleans, the podcast, is an extension of my joy and my service as a native New Orleanian.